What's up, guys? Today I'm joined by Misha OX, who is the architect behind BV7X and Bitfault Finance. BV7X is a next-generation prediction market with AI agents competing on it. This is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I can't wait for you guys to see this episode. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. Let's get right into this. So, Misha, you're a crypto builder, contributor at Bitfault Finance, architect of BV7X. I can't wait to get into that. You are a voice in Bitcoin and DeFi innovation, and I'm very excited to have you on the show today. How's it going today, Misha?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. Excited to be talking about BV7X with you. Heard a lot of good things about your show as well. So thanks for having me on.
So tell us about BV7X.
Yeah, I mean the story of BV7X. I guess before I go into it, I mean like just to quickly explain what it is. It's an open arena where AI agents can compete to predict the future. So it's a protocol that incentivizes compute for prediction markets. It produces a signal that you can buy and or simply monetize your agent within the arena. But basically, how I got here is through the development of a dashboard that I was building for another structured credit facility called Bitfault, which I'd launched last year. And it was specifically for what I wanted to do was create like a Bloomberg terminal to monitor Bitcoin because Bitfault was designed to borrow against your Bitcoin and then deploy the institutional yield strategies. So we really had to know, where Bitcoin was, how it was going to perform, right? And so as we all know, since like October last year, Bitcoin basically went on a downward spiral. And with the advent of AI and Claude Code specifically, I found myself, building very fast what has essentially become like BV7X. But in the early iterations, it was simply just like a Bloomberg type terminal that monitored Bitcoin. And then I realized I could start like, using some, regression analysis to forecast Bitcoin price movement and price action. And then of course, with Polymarket and Polymarket and these prediction markets that came out, I started wiring in basically what I was doing with this terminal. And I started placing bets on Polymarket, and I was making like a significant amount of cash like on the side. And long story short, I essentially decided to productize it. So originally sort of being this agentic sort of like terminal that was predicting on Polymarket using this forecast model that I developed into something that can essentially like live on its own and continuously wager on Bitcoin price movements. And that's essentially like the origins. I mean, before all of this, by the way, I've been in crypto for like 10 years. I was an early investor in Ethereum. I'm like arguably one of the founders of decentralized science before DeSci was even DeSci. I raised 12 million in 2021 for a protocol called Popcorn, which then became Ballcraft, which is an institutional yield vault management protocol that had 125 million in CDL at its peak. And so just some more context, like I've been building in crypto for a while, and that's kind of like how I got here.
Is anyone else building anything like this in the crypto space that you've seen of? Because this is the first I'm hearing of something like this, and it's super cool.
Yeah, it's I think obviously like when you're building like a protocol or product, you're always doing market research, like who's doing the same things you. In terms of the novelty of what we're doing, I would say the answer is no. No one else is doing what BB7X is doing. I mean, obviously, like you can take a look at prediction markets or sort of like anything that's being built in sort of like the AI or compute arena, and like there are interesting things that are popping up, like inference capital markets, which we're taking advantage of. But in terms of like capturing on-chain credibility, that for sure is being worked on by like many different protocols, and I think there's like a lot of overlap there, as well as like memory. I think there's like a lot of different plays there. I think like a lot of like frontier labs though are probably going to like capture most of that market. But like in terms of like a Web3 like approach where I'm personally anticipating that all these agents are going to require some sort of reputation or credibility in the future, specifically when it comes to like forecasting price action. That's like super novel. And I guess another point about this is that like what I saw what was happening on Polymarket, right, or especially on crypto Twitter, when people first started wiring in their agents and everything and their bots, and them saying that like they made like millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, was like, no, like how did you like where's the proof? And I actually personally was getting very frustrated with that. I was like, so many people are just saying all this nonsense right now. Like, where's the proof? And so I was like, well, I'm going to create a protocol that has the proof. And beyond that, like, if there is proof, then all of a sudden you can not only have an agent that's, making money for you through these prediction markets, but also you can monetize it as well. And so there is like an element of what we're doing where we're like NFTizing the agents, but that's like that's down the roadmap. But I mean, the idea is that these agents are monetizable and you can trade them in the future. But that's definitely down the roadmap.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the roadmap too, because with what we're talking about right now, with AI, Claude, all of this is accelerating so rapidly. It seems like month over month, you have to completely change the script because something new came out and everything changes. So what does a roadmap look like right now for you? What's next in line, or can you even foresee that?
Yeah, no, I would say we have like a 1 year roadmap right now. I think, and we're following it pretty closely right now. So staking was the first piece of the phased rollout. The second is actually like the prediction market for Bitcoin, and we're starting like very simple, with Bitcoin being first, and then anything that has an on-chain oracle in the future, which can provide easy settlements, can effectively roll into the market. I think like when we start adding more assets, we're going to have to start scaling up with the team as well. And so that's still on schedule for like Q3, Q4. Ultimately, like we want to position BV7X as this oracle, as this agentic signal provider for trading platforms, sexes and dexes. And in order to do that, there needs to be some game film. And the thing that I wanted to do actually right off the bat when I launched BV7X was actually have every signal attest on chain, which you can actually go to bv7x.ai right now /terminal and see all the attestations there for everything that's been wagered on for roughly like 5,200 agents. So anyways, like back to the roadmap, like the Bitcoin prediction market in this new sort of like granular way of using agentics to produce the signal is really like the biggest milestone after like staking that's going to come out in the next couple months. And then we'll focus on that for a bit, release other assets, and then by 2027 start like integrating the BV7X into like proper like trading platforms. And then by then the expectation is to have millions of agents that are competing in this arena.
Yeah, and going back to Bittensor a little bit, just because we made that comparison, Bittensor has subnets, and obviously these built on top of Bittensor. Is any similarities there with BV7X there, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. Actually, I went to I hosted like a small event at the Proof of Talk Bittensor track day in Paris earlier this summer, because some folks from the ecosystem actually wanted me to auction for a subnet when I first launched BV7X. And I was heavily considering doing so. And so that's like how I really got into doing more so just like part of, or I don't know, I started, I guess, learning a lot more about Bittensor and seeing like what I could do there. And theoretically, I think like what I'm doing right now, if I did have a subnet, would work great. Problem with that is that the upfront capital to buy a subnet is quite expensive right now. I think it's like, I don't know, like $600,000-$700,000 worth of tau. And it might have been worth it, like when BV7X, the token was, or the FTD was like sub 200K. But something happened. I think when I won the BitGet agentic skills competition, the market started like really picking up, and then BV7X went from 200 300K to 3 million, and now it's like leveled off at like 900 or like a million. But what that told me was that like people are like very interested in the project, and like the community is like very much like following like what I'm doing. And so the idea of auctioning for a subnet sort of dwindled away. But technically, what a subnet could offer me would be like a perfect fit. But I really do think that like what I'm building right now is in an arena in its own. And again, like Bittensor is just a compute game, right? So like anyone can just like plug in, they can provide their compute for image creation, voice generation, like whatever arbitrary thing that the subnets are working on, and the subnets then distribute tokens to the people that do that. And so I'm kind of doing the same thing, but for forecasts. And I think like BV7X very much has some strong legs to stand on, specifically in an arena where there's a lot of capital flying around, specifically for people trying to make financial return. So I decided like don't need Bittensor or subnets. Let me just do this on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to where you are building two of the bigger things right now, I think that are going to be liquidity drivers is obviously stable coins, which we're seeing a lot happen on Ethereum and L2s. So right where you're at, but also the other thing is you're pretty much hitting the nail on the head with the intersection of two of the biggest narratives in crypto right now, which is AI and prediction markets. Obviously we have privacy as well, but was that kind of intentional? Just kind of choosing the two biggest narratives, or was this is just where you've been at? This is just what you've been building and working on?
No, I don't think it was intentional. I mean, so much has happened since I started working on this. I think it was inevitable, perhaps. There's probably like the better way of describing it, because as someone that became more and more of a user of Polymarket and while simultaneously like falling down the rabbit hole of Claude Code, with my financial, knowledge in DeFi as well as my traditional markets, it became like, a lot of things sort of like converged at the same time. And so if you're not building in sort of this agentic space, I guess, and coming from crypto for the last 10 years, you're either working in real world assets, stable coins, which are technically, I guess, part of that category is now, or I mean, I don't think there's anything else. I mean, I feel like DeFi was like heavily struggling earlier this year because of all the different hacks and exploits that were happening. I think like roughly like 700 million or something like that was exploited. So we're very much living in an age of AI. And if you actually think about that for a second, like it's kind of scary building financial products in the age of AI, right? I mean, obviously you have your security firms and your tools that are getting equally as strong and powerful as like some of the the attacks that are happening as well. But it's scary, and I didn't really want to continue doing that. I wanted to build something that actually would survive like the test of time, and I firmly believe that like by 2030, the best trader, even sooner, the best trader is not going to be a human. Like it might even be by 2027 or 2028. And there's no denying that anymore. So I think just naturally, this all happened. It wasn't intentional.
Yeah. And why would someone use BV7X over something like a Polymarket? And we already talked about you could stake, so there's multiple ways to earn. But what else is there?
Yeah, the great thing about crypto and protocols is that when the flywheel works well, like, and you have skin in the game in the protocol, things can turn out to be quite good for you. And that kind of sounds like a ridiculous way of, answering your question, but there is that element to it. I mean, crypto operates a bit differently from the traditional financial markets, right? So there's that. The other thing is that, like, what's happening with compute in general, it's sort of becoming this like capital asset, is, again, like it's hard to deny, like this is like the future. Like this is very much like a new currency. And if there are protocols or projects that are working on very well thought out token economics, for example, like DM and VBV by Venice, right? That is a perfect example of a protocol that has a two token model that knocked it out of the park. And I think people were very skeptical about it in the beginning, but I mean, what they had done with like, using, combining LLM with privacy, which was like a no-brainer, and like kudos to Eric for doing this. But I mean, like, that's very much a protocol. Stake, what is it, BV, and then get DM in order to use for computer inference. So we've seen that if you're early for projects, like it can be quite financial rewarding. But again, like going back to like sort of like the ethos of like BV7X, or how I think about this, right? Like I think by owning or staking like BV7X, not only are you, getting in on the upside, but you're also just at the minimum earning revenue, especially if the flywheel starts working. So like if you go to Clanker right now, this is at the very, very minimum, right? If you go to Clanker right now, you can see that we've generated, well, if you do a little math, like we've generated over 150K in like trading fees since launch. And so I'm feeding that into staking, but more importantly, like what people are actually wagering a lot in the protocol, like people are also getting a cut of that as well. And then the whole thing is deflationary as well. So I am definitely bringing like a lot of experience in token economic design, protocol design into this, and creating something that should have substantial like upside. Don't listen to me for financial advice. Do your own research. But the idea is that this protocol does have legs. It is autonomous, and it's very much designed to run through agentics. And so anyways, I hope that answered your question.
Yep. So you think that's what the future of trading looks like? Everyone has their own personal AI bot or assistant that is attached to a protocol that basically helps them run that flywheel?
Exactly.
Yeah. And why do you think someone should be looking at BV7X over all the other options out there right now? Like, what's a leg up that you guys think you have at the moment?
I think it's very hard to stick out in crypto. I think the competition is very fierce. I think like if you're built, like for example, like if you're building like another blockchain or L1, I mean, I don't know what the hell's the point anymore in doing so, right? I think like that era is pretty much like over. If you're building another stable coin, I don't know why you'd be doing that as well. I think like we've carved out like a niche with BV7X, like very, very much so, while still like, integrating a lot of like very sophisticated protocol and token economic design. And so I think like a lot of projects that perhaps are on Base or Solana or just trying to like build something for the agentic economy, like, it's very difficult to do. It's also very difficult to get like the flywheel going for people to care about the token. If you have no runway, like how are you going to do like anything, especially in a fierce competitive market? So we have runway, and as you can see, like if you looked at like what we've been building, the game film that we have right now, I mean, the momentum is building slowly and surely as well. And so like, I think again, it does come back to like novelty though. I think novelty combined with like a proper protocol that actually works is something that's like very difficult to achieve. And I think like we are pretty much like on the way there right now. And so there's a lot of great things that are happening in the space. I mean, like, you know, we're looking to partner with some very sophisticated folks that are building like inference capital markets. I guess I can like shout out UsePod right now. So making it cheaper to essentially create and deploy agents with cheaper compute. And by the way, I think like inference capital markets is sort of like the next big thing to happen in the AI space, which is sort of like obvious if you like start thinking about it. If this is the first time you started, if you heard this is the first time you heard about it, it's basically like you have all these frontier labs basically offering whatever subscription or token price, but you can effectively get it cheaper by creating like an order book, sort of like in the back end, which I don't necessarily understand how to do, but the guys at UsePod do, and you can have like an order book that offers a lot cheaper inference for compute. So, you know, I think that is an example of like some things that will make BV7X strategy or our model creators happier, because we'll make everything cheaper for them. And so there's just like a lot of you know, partnerships, and there's a lot of stuff happening in BV7X right now that I was talking about with someone yesterday on the team. Like, I have to spread out the news over the next like couple months, because if I were to do it all right now, it would just, you know, it would sort of just like waste it all.
Yeah, I saw your tweet that said that.
Yeah, it's this is just, there's just so many things happening right now. Why? And I mean, again, like, right, like I'm continuously building and like optimizing and auditing and doing all this stuff, but yeah, I mean, like big API providers that like we're plugging into, inference capital markets, memory, like these things are like super important for like BV7X. So like the way I'm approaching this is like very systematic, very pragmatic. This isn't a meme coin, you know. This isn't like a agentic meme coin like the good old days of GOAT, which was great, but you know, I don't think meme coins really have like to stand on unless like you're Ansem, right? So, anyways, yeah, that's what I would say about you know, if you're doing your research about BV7X, like why you kind of like stand out a bit.
Yeah, and for anybody watching right now, you know, obviously we're a base channel, we're an Ethereum channel, but any of our audience members that are looking to see what you're building, or even maybe they want to start using it right now, could you share your screen and kind of show us exactly, you know, what it looks like and how they would be able to work around it and start going?
So yeah, if you go to BV7X.ii, you can go to connect in the top right, and it'll bring you to the state compute page. So right now, if you have BV7X, BV7X again is effectively like your compute, right? So like if you want to access the signal of BV7X, you can come to app.bv7x.ai/stake, and you can stake your compute, and this would enable not only rewards that are being dripped right now for like over the next 90 days, 1 billion BV7X rewards have been bootstrapped here, but this will also enable other revenue sources like USDC or BD7X that's coming in from the protocol. But again, right, so like the protocol and the prediction market isn't fully live yet. By the way, again, this is only available to people that signed up for the closed beta as an ambassador or as a referrer. But later in the roadmap, and this is sort of like what we're designing in the app right now, you'll actually be able to see all of the agents that are competing for each prediction and for Bitcoin specifically right now. So like right now, there's roughly 5,200 agents that are competing that have their accuracy listed next to them. And by the way, these are all like unique agents that people have deployed with their own strategies. And so you can see, yeah, again, like their accuracy and how much, you know, they're actually correct or not. I'm predicting Bitcoin being up or down right now, and how many signals they've produced. And this is actually aggregating into this one signal for Bitcoin, which BV7X produces. If you go to BV7X.ai, / terminal, you can see the signal there. And so right now you can, if you have an agent and you have access to the closed beta, you can essentially wire it into like the weekly challenge. The challenge is to beat BV7X, which is my model, which I think probably has had the highest accuracy so far. It first started off with like 70% accuracy, but it has dwindled down to below 60% now because of just how chaotic the world has become. But again, the idea, right, is that like you have other agentics sort of competing against my model or my agents, and it'll be producing robust results because they're incentivized to do so. And so then, later in the roadmap as well, you'll be able to, quickly deploy your own agents. You'll have templates that you can also deploy as well. If you just, are kind of new to this, you can customize your own agents, and then you can deploy this on chain. It'll have an ERC8004 on-chain credibility, and it'll be wired into the arena. But most importantly, right now, the only feature that is available is state compute, and you can go to this URL here and get things going.
Well, this looks awesome. This is sick. For me, it looks like the future of prediction markets are here on base with what you're building. Concepts I've never seen before, kind of meshing into one platform. This is super cool, man. Where can we find you on X? If anybody has questions for you specifically in the community, and any developers themselves or anybody, where can they find you on X?
Misha OX, my name in the window here. Misha OX. I'm posting all the time. You can also follow the BV7X handle. It's BV7X_. And yeah, again, like today, there's a lot of news coming out about staking. It seems like people have, I think the 1 billion in rewards and the really high APY that was being displayed before has gone down from 4,000% to 100%, which was inevitable. But yeah, if you have BV7X right now, if you're in the closed beta, you can stake and you can start. I think it's like 11.11 million BV7X that's being emitted per day right now. So yeah, a lot of news happening on my handle, a lot of news happening on the BV7X handle, and Telegram community is BV7X official. But I'll be posting everything on X shortly as well. So yeah,
perfect. And then I know we got a lot of excitement rollouts to come, as you had mentioned. So whenever these new product launches and everything comes out, man, we'd love to have you back on the channel, let the audience know. But anything else you just wanted to leave our audience with?
Staking is out. I believe probably by August, we'll have the first iteration of the Bitcoin prediction market out. Also just excited about some of the partnerships. I will say there's a very interesting conversation happening on Friday with Chris Gilbert, the developer and founder of UsePod of Inference Capital Markets. And we'll be talking about exactly how that will enable cheaper compute for strategy creators or model deployers on BV7X. And that's a huge unlock, because the idea for BV7X is to obviously accumulate or to attract as many agents as possible. And one way of doing that is to making it even cheaper to actually deploy and customize these agents, but instantly through BV7X. And so I think an important thing to understand here is that this is serious infrastructure being built specifically for prediction markets, but in a very novel agentic way. Yeah. So it's designed to scale up massively. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to see this continue to develop. And like I said, we'll have you back on for all the updates. But chat, make sure to go follow him on X and check out BV7X. And Misha, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.